Everyone talks about DAO voting, but almost nobody understands what happens after a proposal passes. So today, we're breaking down the part of governance that actually moves capital, the Treasury. How funds flow, how spending is authorized, how multi-sig logic works, and how DAOs protect billions in assets without a CFO. This is the Treasury Flow walkthrough, the full pipeline from proposal, approval, execution, accounting. By the end of this episode, you'll understand exactly how a DAO moves money on chain, how it prevents abuse, and why Treasury architecture is the backbone of decentralized governance. The first thing to understand is that a DAO treasury isn't just where the money sits. It's a smart contract with rules baked into it. That contract defines what assets it can hold, what actions are allowed, and under what conditions those actions can be triggered. No one person can just log in and move funds. There's no private key that secretly controls everything. In most serious DAOs, the Treasury holds multiple assets, the native token stablecoins, sometimes LP positions, and occasionally more exotic things like NFTs or yield-bearing instruments. All of that is governed by the same core logic. The Treasury contract is the vault, and it only responds to governance-approved actions. This is the foundation. Now, if you don't understand that the Treasury is a rule-bound contract instead of a simple wallet, everything else about DAO finance looks random. Once you know the Treasury is a contract, the next question is, how does money actually leave it? The answer is simple but strict. Spending requires a past proposal. That means someone has to draft a spending request, submit it through the DAO's governance interface, and get it through the full voting process. Quorum has to be met, thresholds have to be hit, the voting window has to close. Only then does the system mark that proposal as passed and eligible for execution. Until that happens, the Treasury contract treats the request like it doesn't exist. This is how DAOs prevent rogue spending. There's no, oops, I sent $1 million to the wrong address from a Signal admin. Every moment of capital is tied to a public proposal that the community can see, debate, and vote on. When a proposal passes, it doesn't just flip a yes-no flag. It hands the Treasury an exact set of instructions. That's the execution logic. It might say, send 50,000 USDC to this grant address, swap 10% of the Treasury's ETH into stablecoins, allocate tokens to a reward contract, or update a parameter like the fee rate. The important part is precision. The contract doesn't interpret vibes. It doesn't guess what the DAO meant. It executes exactly what's encoded in their proposal. If the proposal is sloppy, the execution is sloppy. If the proposal is clear, the execution is clean. This is why good DAOs invest in proposal standards. They require clear amounts, clear destinations, clear timelines, and clear conditions. The better the execution logic, the safer the Treasury. Now, how does that execution actually fire? Some DAOs wire their system so that once a proposal passes, the Treasury contract automatically runs the action. No human in the loop, no extra signatures. Governance is the trigger, and the chain does the rest. Other DAOs add a multi-sig layer. A group of trusted signers, often elected or appointed by the DAO, have to confirm the transaction before it goes out. That ends human oversight. It lets people catch obvious mistakes, react to exploits, or pause execution if something looks off. Automation gives you speed and trustlessness. Multi-sig gives you safety and human judgment. Most serious DAOs end up with some hybrid, automated for routine actions, multi-sig for large or sensitive moves. The key is that neither layer can override governance. They can only execute what the DAO already approved. When the execution fires, that's when the community feels it. Tokens leave the Treasury contract and land in a grant recipient's wallet. Stablecoins get deployed into a strategy. Assets get rebalanced. This is the moment where governance turns into real economic action. The beauty of on-chain treasuries is that every one of these movements is public. You can see the transaction, the amount, the destination, and often the proposal it's tied to. There's no hidden ledger, no secret spreadsheet. If you cared enough to look, you can trace exactly how the DAO is using its capital. This is the transparency DAO's promise, not just transparent voting, but transparent spending. Once funds move, the Treasury's state updates. Balances change, allocations shift. Maybe the DAO now has less stablecoins and more native tokens, or vice versa. Maybe runaway shortened or extended. Maybe risk went up or down. Good DAOs don't leave that buried in raw chain data, they surface it. They publish dashboards that show current balances, historical spending, inflows from protocol revenue, and projections for runaway. Contributors and token holders can see whether the DAO is being responsible or reckless. Bad DAOs either don't track this or don't show it. And that's usually a red flag, because if you can't see how the Treasury is evolving over time, you can't judge whether governance is doing its job. After the money moves, the story isn't over. Now the DAO has to ask, did this spending do what we said it would? Grant recipients should report progress. Teams funded by the Treasury should show deliverables. Strategy managers should show performance and risk. Some DAOs formalize this with milestones and check-ins. Others are more informal, but the principle is the same. Treasury flow isn't just about moving money, it's about closing the loop between capital and outcomes. When that loop is tight, the community trusts the Treasury. When it's loose, people start questioning every proposal. From the outside, users see something simple: a proposal, a vote, a result, and maybe a transaction. But under that surface is a full pipeline: Treasury contracts, execution modules, multi-sig layers, accounting systems, and reporting structures. The UX is intentionally clean so more people can participate. The machinery underneath is intentionally strict so capital doesn't get abused. That tension, simple interface, complex backend, is what makes DAOs both powerful and hard to design well. Treasury flow is where governance stops being theoretical and starts being real. It's how DAOs fund builders, support ecosystems, and shape the future of their protocols. If you understand this pipeline, you're not just voting on stuff, you're actually participating in a live financial system. So if you're new to crypto and want the foundation that makes all this easier to understand, I cover the core concepts in my book, Understanding Crypto, a Clear Guide for New Investors. It's designed to give you the base knowledge most people skip, so when you get into things like DAOs, governance, and treasury flow, you actually know what you're looking at. And if this helped you understand how DAO treasuries actually move money, please hit follow and drop a comment telling me which part you want next, culture or the real DAO dashboard. because your comments push this episode further and tell me what to build next. Please stay locked.